Hello, everybody, and welcome to week 23 of the St. George Religious Education Initiative. This is day 1. We're reading Exodus chapter 23, verses 1 through 26. So, after God gave the 10 Commandments, and the people asked that Moses hear the rest of the commandments of God and be the go-between for them and for God, Moses went back up the mountain, and God gave him various more detailed commandments. He gave instructions about violence and property and restitution and how those were to be dealt with, how the people should live both in their own homes, but especially in relationship with other people. We aren't going to read all of this in detail, but in chapter 23 we will see some examples both of what sort of rules God is giving to them and what sort of promises he is making to them. So, chapter 23. You shall not spread a false report. You shall not join hands with the wicked to act as a malicious witness. You shall not follow a majority in wrongdoing. When you bear witness in a lawsuit, you shall not side with the majority so as to pervert justice, nor shall you be partial to the poor in a lawsuit. When you come upon your enemy's ox or donkey going astray, you shall bring it back. When you see the donkey of one who hates you lying under its burden, and you would hold back from setting it free, you must help set it free. You shall not pervert the justice due to your poor in their lawsuits. Keep far from a false charge, and do not kill the innocent and those in the right, for I will not acquit the guilty. You shall take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the officials and subverts the cause of those who are in the right. You shall not oppress a resident alien. You know the heart of an alien, for you were aliens in the land of Egypt. For 6 years you shall sow your land and gather in its yield, but the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow, so that the poor of your people may eat, and what they leave the wild animals may eat. You shall do the same with your vineyard and with your olive orchard. 6 days you shall do your work, but on the 7th day you shall rest, so that your ox and your donkey may have relief, and your homeborn slave and the resident alien may be refreshed. Be attentive to all that I have said to you. Do not invoke the names of other gods. Do not let them be heard on your lips. 3 times in the year you shall hold a festival for me. You shall observe the festival of unleavened bread. As I commanded you, you shall eat unleavened bread for 7 days at the appointed time, in the month of Abib, for in it you came out of Egypt. No one shall appear before me empty-handed. You shall observe the festival of harvest, of the first fruits of your labor, of what you sow in the field. You shall observe the festival of ingathering at the end of the year, when you gather in from the field the fruit of your labor. 3 times in the year all your males shall appear before the Lord God. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with anything leavened, or let the fat of my festival remain until the morning. The choicest of the first fruits of your ground you shall bring into the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. I am going to send an angel in front of you to guard you on the way and to bring you to the place that I have prepared. Be attentive to him and listen to his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he will not pardon your transgression, for my name is in him. But if you listen attentively to his voice and do all that I say, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and a foe to your foes. When my angel goes in front of you and brings you to the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I blot them out, you shall not bow down to their gods, or worship them, or follow their practices, but you shall utterly demolish them and break their pillars in pieces. You shall worship the Lord your God, and I will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from among you. No one shall miscarry or be barren in your land. I will fulfill the number of your days. So, this isn't a story. It's a very different sort of thing that we're seeing. These are a set of laws, a set of instructions, a set of sayings, and they're not all necessarily related together. So I want to make a couple observations, point out a couple things here. First of all is the importance to God of justice, and especially of making sure that the poor have access to justice. recognizing that the poor are weak, they're easy to take advantage of. So many of these laws are forbidding those who are in power for all time to take advantage of the poor just because they're poor and don't have access to better lawyers or this or that or the other thing. Second, the importance of justice even to your enemies. These bits about how if you see your enemy's ox or donkey going astray or under a burden, and it's your enemies, so you'd be very happy to let them lose their ox and donkey and the property that's on it, or let the burden crush them. But no, he says you do what is right regardless of whether it's your enemy or not. He makes the point especially that foreigners who are living among them are to be treated well, and especially never to be oppressed or enslaved. He says that's what you were. You were foreigners living in Egypt, and they enslaved you. Don't do what was done to you. Don't repeat that evil. The Sabbath year, this law that they're supposed to plant their crops and reap them for 6 years, but the 7th year they're supposed to live on what's stored away. They're supposed to leave the fields alone. It's very important to see why God tells them to do this, because he says, in this way, the poor and even the animals will be able to reap for that year. And part of this is also he's telling them to trust him, that he will always make certain that they have enough harvests in the other 6 years, so that in the 7th year, when they don't plant crops, they will not go hungry. What we'll see is that God's people did not follow this rule, and after 490 years in the promised land, God led them into exile, and he kept them out of the land for 70 years, which was all of those Sabbath years that they had not observed. If you divide 490 years, the number of years that they were in the land before they went into exile, you divide that by 7, that's 70 years. So all of the years of the Sabbath years that they never observed, God took them, and he made sure that the land had its rest, as he says. So we'll see this later. The 3 festivals, these are the 3 great feasts of the Old Testament of Judaism. And these were all the 3 feasts that became known as pilgrimage feasts. They were the times when the people were all supposed to come to Jerusalem and to worship God there, or come to wherever the tabernacle was before Jerusalem was built. One of these is the Feast of Passover. That's the Festival of Unleavened Bread. The other is the Festival of First Fruits, which actually comes 50 days after the Passover, and for that reason it's called Pentecost. The 50th day, Pentecosti, is Pentecost. And then when it was actually time for the rest of the harvest, that was the other time that they were all supposed to go and worship God at the tabernacle at the end of the season, at the time of harvest. So when we see God promise to send an angel in front of the people to guard them and protect them and bring them safely through, and he says that what he says is, my name is in him, we're to understand from this that the Son of God, the Word, the Logos, Jesus Christ, had been with the children of Israel as they went through the wilderness. He was there as the angel of God, leading them through, protecting them in the pillar of fire and the pillar of smoke. He had been with them throughout. We see this talked about elsewhere. In the Psalms we talk about this. In the New Testament we talk about this as well. This is a moment in the Old Testament where we see the person of Jesus Christ revealed, although he's veiled in this angel that the Lord, the messenger that the Father sends along with them. And then we see the statement that when they go to the promised land, they are not to do the things that the people that they are driving out had been doing, which is the other piece. God calls the Israelites to be his priestly people, his holy nation. and he calls them to abolish the evils that were being done by these wicked peoples. So we'll talk more, I think, what those evils, what that wickedness is, in a future reading. For now, I'll say God bless you all. Have a lovely day, and I'll see you on day 2 on Wednesday.